Welcome to Unbreakable Truth. In today's video, we unravel the story of a woman caught between the roles she plays, the love she once knew, and a reflection of herself she thought she had lost. What begins as a polished evening of social climbing quickly unravels into a dangerous exploration of desire, invisibility, and rediscovery. Stay with us, because what happens behind closed doors may not be betrayal at all, but awakening. It began with the kind of business dinner that felt more like theater than conversation. The lights in the restaurant were dim, but everything else was too bright. The silverware gleamed unnaturally, every laugh at the table seemed a little too sharp, rehearsed. And my husband Mark sat stiffly beside me in a shirt so starched it felt like it could stand on its own. He laughed when everyone else did, just half a beat too late, as though checking for cues. Garrett Langston, his boss, sat across the table, larger than life without even trying to be. His suit fit him like a second skin, his cufflinks glinting under the chandelier like tiny expensive secrets. He spoke with quiet command, drawing everyone in. Everyone except me. Or so I thought. Because every now and then his eyes would find mine. Not by accident. Not the polite glances of a man humoring his employee's wife. No, he looked at me like I was a sentence he wasn't finished reading. Like I was something unresolved. I shouldn't have noticed. I shouldn't have memorized the way his fingers brushed against mine when he passed me the salt. I shouldn't have caught the subtle pause in his voice when he said my name slowly, as if savoring it, syllable by syllable, but I did. And by the time dessert arrived, I was no longer thinking about Mark's potential promotion or the speech he had nervously rehearsed in the mirror that morning. I was counting seconds between Garrett's glances. I was watching the way his lips curved around laughter that wasn't about me but still, somehow, reached me. When the invitation came a few days later, it was delivered in an envelope so thick it felt like it belonged in a wedding rather than a networking event. Heavy cream stationery, black calligraphy, understated wealth. Penthouse cocktail gathering, it read. Spouses encouraged. Mark practically tore it in his excitement. "This is it," he said over and over again, pacing our kitchen. "This is the night that matters." He practiced names, anecdotes, even jokes he thought might land. He was determined to be memorable. But that night, as I stood before the mirror adjusting the neckline of my black dress, one I hadn't worn since before we were married, I wasn't thinking about his speech or Garrett's associates. I was thinking about Garrett's eyes, and whether I wanted him to notice me or whether I needed him to. Garrett's penthouse felt like a dream captured in glass and steel. Floor-to-ceiling windows wrapped around the space, revealing a glittering skyline that seemed almost unreal. The room buzzed with voices, laughter, ambition. Mark disappeared almost instantly, swallowed by a cluster of junior executives eager to impress. I wandered to the edge of the terrace. The night air was crisp, tinged with the scent of coming rain. For a moment, I felt untethered. Like I could step into the sky. "You hate these things," a voice said behind me. I turned. Garrett. He hadn't posed it as a question. He already knew. "I hate pretending," I replied. There was a pause. Not silence, just space. Space wide enough for truth. "We shouldn't be out here alone," I said, though I made no move to leave. "No," he agreed, stepping closer. "But we are." His voice was calm, but something in his eyes burned. Not with lust. No, that would have been easier. It was something else. Recognition. As if we had shared some secret before ever speaking it aloud. When the glass door slid open behind us, Mark's face appeared. His smile froze for just a heartbeat. Just long enough. Later, in the taxi home, he didn't speak for several blocks. He just stared out the window. And then, without looking at me, he said, "He wants you." The words landed like stones in water. I braced for the follow-up, the accusation, the anger. But it never came. Instead, he yawned and looked down at his phone. "Doesn't matter," he muttered. "Men like him don't really see people like us." I should have felt relieved. I didn't. His words didn't feel like forgiveness. I didn't. His words didn't feel like forgiveness. They felt like resignation. Like he had already counted himself out. And something about that lodged itself deep inside my chest, sharp and aching. Days passed. Life continued its rhythm. Mark left for a business trip. I folded laundry, answered emails, kept the house humming. Then came the knock. No text, no call. Just 3 soft raps at the door, almost shy, almost apologetic. I opened it to find Garrett standing there, soaked from the rain, hair plastered to his forehead. His suit, always perfect, was wrinkled. His tie was gone. "I'm leaving her," he said. No preamble, no justification. Just those 3 words. We didn't touch for hours. We sat on the couch, wrapped in silence, unraveling. He told me how his marriage had become a negotiation, love diluted into terms and conditions. I told him how Mark had stopped seeing me the day he decided I was a stepping stone to the life he wanted. We confessed quietly, pieces of ourselves falling into the space between us. When his fingers finally reached for mine, it didn't feel like seduction. It felt like surfacing. Like someone had pulled me from a deep, cold sea and reminded me to breathe. When he kissed me, it was gentle. Not hungry. Not wild. Like he was afraid I'd disappear if he closed his eyes. Afterward, I lay against his chest, my hand pressed his heartbeat. It sounded steady. Real. Like something I hadn't heard in years.
"This can't happen again," I whispered, already knowing we had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. "I know," he said. But his arms didn't let go. Mark returned 3 days later, smelling of airport coffee and someone else's shampoo. He kissed my forehead without looking at me, fingers still flying across his phone. I studied him, the man I had shared a bed with for 9 years. And I waited.
Waited for guilt. For shame, for any of the emotions I was supposed to feel. Instead, I felt hunger. Not for Garrett. Not exactly. For the version of me I had lost somewhere between dinner parties and promotion talks. For the woman who had once looked in the mirror and recognized her own face. Garrett kept his distance after that. No calls, no texts, no flowers or lingering stares. Just absence, as if he had folded himself back into the life he'd tried to leave behind. And still, some nights when Mark is snoring beside me, his face soft with sleep, I find myself turning toward the window, half expecting to see Garrett's silhouette there, just a shadow, just a reminder. Not because I'm in love with him, but because he was the first man in years to see me, not the wife, not the hostess, not the background character in someone else's ambition. Just me. And once you've been seen like that, truly seen, you can never go back to being invisible. There's a loneliness in knowing who you are and realizing no one else does. That truth sits between my ribs now. Quiet, permanent. And I don't know if that makes me unfaithful or finally honest. Thank you for watching Unbreakable Truth. If this story touched something in you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful narratives exploring love, identity, betrayal, and emotional awakening. Until next time, keep seeking the truth, even if it breaks you. Because only in truth can we truly begin.